What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Espresso, and welcome back to another video here today on the channel. Today, we're not talking Black Ops 3, we're not talking Infinite Warfare. Instead, how about 2,000 years in the past? Does that sound intriguing to you? Well, if it does, well then that's actually perfect, because we're going to be talking about a scrapped Call of Duty project, which I love hearing about this kind of stuff, the stuff that doesn't make it to the public eye, that years later now then comes up and is like, that almost became a thing. Today we're going to be talking about something that was a Call of Duty set in the Roman times, that of a story following Julius Caesar's 10th Legion and the Roman soldiers that fought therein. So before we get too far into it, if you like this video, drop a like down below, but the big thing that I actually want to get your feedback on is if this interests you, I'm thinking about doing a top 5 scrapped Call of Duty projects that I think you guys definitely would be intrigued in if you like this kind of stuff. So leave your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Do you want to see that here? But let's talk about Roman setting in Call of Duty. According to an article from GamesRadar, there was something at 1.8 years ago, Call of Duty game set in Rome called Call of Duty Roman Wars. Now, this thing would have been tremendously different from the game that we saw today. Obviously, there's not ballistic weapons like we see in Modern Warfare, Vietnam, in the future setting, any of that. Instead, it would feature stuff like battle elephants trampling soldiers, a playable Julius Caesar, and a first-person sword combat in that action. So apparently, initially, Activision enjoyed the idea of the game, and at this point in time, 8 years ago, Call of Duty was absolutely booming. It was still on the uprising. This is right whenever World at War was coming out. Everybody absolutely loved COD 4. World at War did tremendously well as well. And then after that, pretty much anything could ride the momentum of the Call of Duty brand. So it would be something that, even if it was tremendously different, it would probably still sell extremely well. Now, in this article, they talked to a source that wanted to remain unnamed, but he said the title was in development at Vicarious Visions, a studio that Activision has actually owned since 2005, and if you recognize that name, they actually developed Skylanders, the giant kids game that is now a massive hit. So at the time, Vicarious Visions was working on Marvel Ultimate Alliances 2, but they started prototyping Call of Duty set in ancient Rome when Activision reached out to them and asked them to do something for the brand. Now, this wasn't anything like they were guaranteed a title here. How it really worked out was Activision was reaching out to some studios that they then were like, work on some prototypes here, show us what you got, and if we like it, we'll bring it up and bring it to its own IP. Now, it almost was like a giant talent show, a bunch of developers working on something here for the Call of Duty brand to absolutely excel and to showcase something that would be brand new to the franchise. Now, obviously, we know that we didn't see this come to fruition. It wasn't something that did get released to the public, but it was going to be a game with a story revolving around Julius Caesar's 10th Legion, which were his special forces, and one of the levels that they prototyped was actually based off the Battle of Alesia. Now, the mission that was prototyped was something that did have a lot of different mechanics to it, including horse riding, sword fights, and of course, the tank of the game, if you want to call it that, the elephant. You could actually ride in the elephant, and whenever you came across enemies, you could trample them. So I think that would be a very cool feature to see something like that perhaps in a game if it were to ever make its way to it. But a lot of the other things that were a part of this was there was a third-person perspective as well as a first-person perspective that the players could then go into. Now, the cool part in terms of the storyline was that it was going to jump around from everybody like it does in the actual Call of Duty campaigns. It would jump around from low grunts in the forces to a chariot officer to Julius Caesar himself. So it jumped around a lot here within this, and the Roman Legion were to follow and then fight in battle together. So I think it'd be cool to see, but sadly it didn't make its way to development. It was sent to the CEO of Activision at the time, Bobby Kotick, and the executives initially sent some positive reviews towards it, but there were some uncertainties to actually revealing it with the Call of Duty branding because, well, Call of Duty was something that a lot of people saw as a more modern shooter, World War II shooter, somewhere in those lines. 2,000 years back was kind of something that they didn't know how well it would be received, and even some of the development staff were kind of skeptical on that area. So Roman Wars was thus canceled, and then it did not come to life. However, as we see now with games such as Rise on the Xbox One, there probably would be a market for something like this. People would buy into it, maybe not in today's day and age where Call of Duty is more so universally known as that modern shooter and now moving towards into the futuristic setting, but it would be something that there would be a market for something like this nonetheless. And I think it's interesting to look back and see just where this could have gone. Now, only being demoed on 360, it was initially planned to be ported over to the PC and PS3 because of how Activision works with multi-platform policies, but it is something that, once again, didn't see the light of day. So that's going to wrap it up here today, ladies and gentlemen. I think this would be something very cool to see potentially. I don't know if it would necessarily today fit the Call of Duty standards, but it would be something that would be nifty to see. And of course, it is absolutely very cool to look back and see what was in development, but the public did not actually see until, well, 8 years later. So I'll leave the link down there in the description below to the full video on this, entailing all the first information. It actually has some gameplay if you want to check that out. It is by GamesRadar. A brilliant watch if you have the 4 to 5 minutes that it takes to check that out. But nonetheless, thank you dudes so much for watching. Leave your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Firstly, what do you think of the idea of Roman wars in the Call of Duty setting? Would that have been something that would have flown for you, or do you not really see this as too intriguing? And then secondly, would you guys like to see a top 5 scrapped Call of Duty titles in a video coming up here shortly? Love to hear your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. But thank you dudes so much for watching. If you guys liked the video, be sure to like rating down below. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We're on the road to 50,000 subscribers, so every little bit does help and is of course greatly appreciated. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter to stay connected, that is the best place to do so, and the link is always down there in the description below. But thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Nikolai Espresso. See you guys later. Take care and peace.